Since his MLB debut, he ranks 4th lowest in WRC Plus with players that have had 1,200 or more plate appearances.
In the small market, low budget, cost-cutting Rays, it's a drop in the bucket for them.
Yes.
But for Taylor Walls, that's, an additional life-changing money because he may not be a 10-year major league player.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Rays, your daily podcast covering everything Tampa Bay Rays, from game analysis to player interviews. We've got you covered with all the latest news and insights. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulysses Zambrano,
bringing you expert analysis and passionate discussions about our beloved Rays.
Whether you're a diehard fan who vividly remembers Longo's game 162 just like us,
or you remember the early Devil Ray days of Wade Boggs and Carl Crawford,
we're here to break down every play, every trade, and every milestone. In fact, this is our 6th season covering the Rays daily.
In every season up till 2024, the Rays have gone to the playoffs, but you can still grab your favorite Rays gear, settle in, subscribe to our Locked On Rays YouTube channel and other podcast platforms. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I'm still kind of upset about that doink loss that the Bucs had.
Yeah, that was something else. Usually a doink doesn't go in, but this time it worked against the Buccaneers and the Commanders reigned victorious. But
wow,
turnovers lead to bad results, and that's ultimately what happened with your Buccaneers.
It was like seeing the Rays and Red Sox 2021 ALDS, just getting walked off, and you're like, we can't do anything. Like, that's it. The game's over.
And it's like, I have to go to bed and go to work after this on a Monday. You do this on a Sunday evening going into midnight. Seriously?
If you're a hardcore Bucs fan and you didn't take Monday off,
you probably
how was that Monday?
Yeah,
how was that Monday? PTO, baby. Come on.
I know. Exactly. Ulysses turning into a legitimate Buccaneers fan. Before you know it, he will be hosting Locked On Bucs. It's happening, folks. Get all the inside and the X's and O's from Ulysses on Locked On Bucs forthcoming. All right. We do have some Rays drama to get into on today's program, and thankfully it is not stadium drama for the moment. It is player personnel related drama. The Tampa Bay Rays and Taylor Walls are apart on salaries. The Rays want to pay Taylor Walls a certain amount. Taylor Walls wants to make a certain amount. And when you're arbitration eligible, when the two sides can't come to a rapport, we'll let the judges, the lawyers, decide it. Yeah. A group of 3 that will decide whether Taylor Walls is going to make what he requests of $1.575 million or what the Rays suggest he should make, which is $1.3 million. Should note that $275,000 gap was the 4th smallest of the 17 players going to arbitration hearings. And I'll tell you what, there are some notable arbitration hearings on the 4. It's not just, for lack of a better term, bottom feeder, rank and file players going to arbitration. There's guys like Kyle Tucker going to arbitration, evidently. Yeah. But it is an interesting note because I honestly didn't think too much of it until Taylor Walls got on social media and was replying to Mark Topkin.
Well,
and it became a whole thing.
Let's fill in folks with the tea here, because it was a good one. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. Topkins just saying, hey, what you just said basically about the arbitration. And he goes on to say, Walls, an elite defensive player who last year hit 183 with a 529 OPS for Rays and missed 2 months plus following off-season hip surgery was projected to get $1.3 million. And then Taylor Walls replies, what were the defensive statistics? And boy, oh boy, we're on. It's gossip time. It's gossip. And people, obviously, Kevin, just the majority of people went after Taylor. Like, bro, what? Accept it and move on. Some faction of the people were kind of saying, like, no, he's a great glove. I think, like most arguments, the truth is in both sides. Look, he is a above average base runner, an above average. He's got an above average walk rate. He is an above average defender, even though the statistics outside, like StatCast, for example, are not in love with him. In fact, they really don't like him.
I don't think StatCast likes anything about Taylor Wall's game. If
Nothing.
You look up and down from offense, defense, base running, but pretty much every other defensive metric has him ranking tops, just very high marks as far as, fielding percentage, zone rating, defensive runs saved, total zone fielding runs. I mean, whichever other metric besides Savant that you want to utilize, it uplifts Taylor Walls to his advantage, which I assume that his representation will use that to full force. And the Rays will say, yes, but there's these other considerations as well.
Exactly. We'll get to those. But before people make their own arguments, I will also want to say during these hearings, due to the CBA, players and teams can only use publicly published data. So any database that the Rays have completed on their own and they use to grade their own players, which obviously they do, and obviously every team does this, they cannot use that, which is against Taylor Walls, because in their database, in their numbers, they look at Taylor Walls like, we got to give this guy so many bleeping time. And now the thing that is going to hurt Taylor Walls is the fact that he won't, they won't obviously be able to use those numbers. And that goes to the Rays point. But
I wonder how granular it gets. This is total off the mark here, but he shows up late to work at, not saying this is Taylor Walls, but can they foster this into the arguments of, he shows up late, he's not a great teammate, he doesn't wash his hands after using the restroom. Like, can they get into how you are as a person, or it strictly has to be on the field and not necessarily off the field behavior? I would be curious to be a fly on the wall in those conversations. That would actually be a great, again, I'm sidetracking crazily today, but if MLB wanted to do their own Hard Knocks-esque documentary, stick a camera in some of those arbitration hearings, and people would eat that stuff up, in my opinion. You want to go inside baseball? Here's your opportunity to do that.
And charge for it. Yeah, why not? We'll pay for it. Evidence of the following in arbitration cases shall not be admissible: the financial position of the player in the club, the cost to the parties of the representatives of the attorneys, offers made by either player or club. But this is the one you want, Kevin. This cannot be admissible: press comments, testimonials, or similar material bearing on the performance of either the player or the club, except that recognized annual player awards for playing excellence shall not be excluded. So, seems like if there had been testimonials, press comments, they can't put that in there.
Understood. We have more to discuss, much more to discuss on this, but first we have to tell the audience something very important, and that is FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting, even if you're a Bucs fan, actually. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That is $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app, if you didn't know by now, it's easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keep every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings, whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs. FanDuel, they've got you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That is at FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Now let's go to the cons, Kevin.
Yes.
I actually got friend of the pod, Zach Dab. I kind of got on him because I think that there needs to be like an honest conversation
about Taylor Walls.
Taylor Walls, especially his offensive output, because he put Walls is an easy target because of his relative lack of offensive production.
That's putting it nicely.
I had to stop Zach right in his tracks. I'm sorry. Relative lack of offensive production. You can say that about pick a name. It can't be the guy who has the fourth worst WRC plus since he debuted in the major leagues. Wow. That's not relatively lack of offensive production. Just to let you guys know, in his time in the major leagues, which is 1,200 plus plate appearances, 183 batting average, 288 on base, 293 slug. That's a 580 OPS and a 71 WRC plus. Again, since his MLB debut, he ranks fourth lowest in WRC plus with players that have had 1,200 or more plate appearances. It's not good. It's actually, that's actually polite. It's bad offensive production.
Right. And if you look at his numbers year by year since his debut, all things being equal, he's kind of regressed in a way as far as the OPS, the slug, the power numbers. Now, the power numbers, something tells me some of that may have to do with him coming back from off-season hip surgery. That may have had a negative impact, just like a guy coming back from a wrist issue or something like that. But even when fully healthy and fully at potential, it's not like you can rely on the guy to knock out 15, 18, 20 home runs. I mean, his max is probably between 8 to 10, and that's if he gets 400, 450 plate appearances, which you probably don't want Taylor Walls to make that many plate appearances. But on the flip side, and again, I think 2025, there really, if he's healthy, there really shouldn't be any excuse. If the numbers offensively continue to be decrepit, the Rays at some point have to say, all right, we got to move on. We got to figure something else out, because I can understand the oblique, but really there's no excuse when you're getting this much action, this much opportunity, probably somewhat uplifted by the fact that Wander Franco is out of the equation. You're getting all these reps now and injuries and young players and so on and so forth. But part of the argument we had previously with, Taylor Walls not doing well offensively in previous iterations was, well, he's a primary shortstop. He's moving around to different positions, second, third. It's hard to focus defensively and navigate multiple positions while you're trying to figure things out offensively, let alone you're a switch hitter as well. But last season, again, off-season hip surgery, but he really only played shortstop and was DH in a game. So we really can't utilize that as a crutch or an excuse anymore if he's only going to be playing that position day in and day out.
Taylor Walls is perfect for a team that is first to like 10th in offensive production. Then you can carry a Taylor Walls. Like the Dodgers, why are they not calling him?
Perfect. Yeah, that would be a perfect trade candidate.
Yes.
Defensive replacement, base runner, draw us a walk. Let's try to eke out a way, give the starter some rest, give him an off day here and there.
And like, it's just, he with so much talent there in that lineup, like you're not even going to feel the fact that he's not producing. And honestly, when he's going to be making those great plays that he does, they're going to be really happy about Taylor Walls, because that's the time. But in this context, Taylor Walls is just unsustainable, just like Alex Jackson was. Like, it's bad offensive production. And if you look at the numbers, it's basically, he is so good with the glove and with the walk rate and with the base running, but he's so bad with the bat itself that it actually cancels each other out. And he's just like a replacement level player. So to go back to the arbitration case, I don't know how Taylor Walls wins this.
The only thing I can think of is if we're looking by WAR, because he has accumulated 7.4 of that number in his career and the amount of games played, what kind of not befuddles me, but makes it kind of interesting. And we know what kind of a talent that Shane Baz is, but the Rays are willing to pay Shane Baz without thinking twice, $1.45 million. We're willing to pay Shane Baz more than we're willing to pay Taylor Walls, despite the fact that Baz missed all of 2023 and has only made 23 starts in his MLB career. So if we're just looking at it by action time, like Baz has been in a Rays uniform for like 3/4 of a season, whereas Walls, over the course of 380 games played, he's been in a Rays uniform for 2.5 seasons just by suiting up.
And funnily enough, they both made their MLB debut in the same season in 2021. Yeah. But, injuries happen. But no, that's actually a really good, you gave me a really good idea. You know what would be a really good poll? Putting it on X and Twitter. Like, hey, if you're the Rays front office, would you give Shane Baz more money than Taylor Walls? And honestly, Kev, I feel like that would be a 90 to 10%. Yes, Shane Baz deserves more money than Taylor Walls.
I just feel like some of this arbitration stuff is how long have you been in the big leagues? How much action have you racked up to this point? And I'm still kind of stuck on which way it'll go. I feel like a lot of it is throwing crap on the wall as to who's going to win out year in and year out, player in, player out. Yeah. But like, I understand it from Taylor Walls' perspective because, $275,000 in the grand scheme of things to the Rays, even as
with the Rays, less than 300K.
Even the small market, low budget, cost cutting Rays, it's a drop in the bucket for them.
Yes.
But for Taylor Walls, that's, an additional life-changing money because he may not be a 10-year major league player. He may be in the league for 5, 6, 7 years. If he continues to not hit or not show up at the plate, it's independent ball. It's AAA ball. It's signing.
It's Japan.
It's invites to, it's Japan, invites to spring training. And, that extra $275,000 is a nice little cushion if and when your career ends sooner than you expect.
It's almost a house. And I would have said a house maybe like 4 years ago, but 275, like if you want to, it's almost a house. That's how expensive stuff is right now. Look, Taylor Walls is doing the correct thing. Like, get your money while you can. The Rays are doing what they think is right, which is, hey, we're not going to pay you more than Shane Baz. Just to put an example, we're not going to pay you more than Shane Baz. Now, those 2 points, I completely understand. It's the fact that it's less than 300K that it does make the Rays look kind of
it makes them look cheap, which isn't the first time.
Not the first time. It won't be the last time, apparently.
They've looked like that. And it's tough for Taylor Walls because he doesn't hit the ball very hard, and you can't get away with, if you don't hit the ball hard, a grounder is going to automatically be an out. A ball in the air is pretty much automatically going to be an out. So your only win at that point is to find the gaps and hit line drives gap to gap. And can he do that on a continual basis while drawing walks? That's the big question. And at least this past season, well, he really couldn't hit much of anything, but he struggled mightily with breaking balls and off-speed pitches. And you get to 0-1, you get behind in the count quickly, and you're screwed if you're Taylor Walls, unfortunately.
If you're a pitcher and you got a curveball, that's exactly what you're feeding to him, because like he's just not going to hit it.
And if he hits it's going to be off the tip, and it's going to be an out.
And his biggest issue, which is kind of like what Kiermaier had for most of his career with the Rays, is that he's not playing to his strength. He is a fast guy, and yet he's not putting the ball in play even on the ground. His ground ball percentage is at 36.2%. That's gone down from 47% since 2021 when he made his debut. Now, again, I'm not saying put it on the ground, because no, you want to hit line drives, of course. But guess what? If after 4 seasons it ain't working, hey, let's try something else and let's use your skills, which is, again, your base running skills. You're fast. You're a fast dude. Put the ball on the ground and let's see what happens, man. Because they're not going to double you up, right? They shouldn't be doubling you up, especially if you're a lefty at the box, which he obviously has been a switch hitter, so he has that opportunity. I think this is the last season that we'll see Taylor Walls with the Rays, because you can no longer make the argument that he is the guy. Even if Carson Williams wasn't knocking on the door, if you take Carson Williams out, I still feel like this is it, man. Like,
they would just say, all right, well,
let's get another one.
Taylor, we'll put Caballero in there until we find our next option, until Carson Williams is ready, or we find a stopgap until the next top prospect shortstop is available, or we trade for somebody. Because if you're already kind of getting in squabbles about arbitration year one, because this is his first arbitration season, correct? Then it usually doesn't bode well for you if you're with the Rays. And again, this is recency bias, maybe, and maybe not totally fair, but back in 2024, the Rays didn't reach agreements with Jason Adam or Harold Ramirez. Well, what happened that year, and I know pretty much everybody on the team got axed, but Harold Ramirez was DFA'd in June, and Jason Adam was traded in July. So I would not be surprised, especially if the Rays are not totally in contention, or they're kind of hovering around that line, that they say, okay, Taylor, we'll give you to the Dodgers for a bullpen arm in single A or double A. And then they wash their hands and they save $1.5 million.
Which honestly, I'll take an arm from the Dodgers for Taylor Walls, like 100%. Even a reliever, like let's see it. It's been very frustrating seeing him at the plate. It's been very enjoyable seeing him out there in the glove at shortstop. When they were moving him to second, third, no, don't give me that. At shortstop, he really showed what he can do, even if the numbers like StatCast do not support that he's a good shortstop. But
and that, just to add on to that, I mean, that really does uplift your team in a way, and your pitching staff, bringing confidence and composure to them, and seeing Taylor Walls dive to his left, dive to his right, tracking out in no man's land and making an over-the-shoulder catch. I mean, he makes some real highlight-worthy plays that, again, if the pitching staff is as good as we think it could be, and you're getting a lot of strikeouts and easy balls in play, maybe you don't need the most elite shortstop, and you can make that up for better offensive punch at that position and not another black hole. And I think you pointed out something very noteworthy, whereas the Rays can't afford another empty spot in the lineup where if you're a top 10, top 12 offense, you can get away with it. But if you're the Rays, you're not really in a great position to be able to deploy that at this moment.
I mean, again, after the big four, Lau, Josh, Caminero, and Yandy, they're all question marks after that. I know people are going to be like, Christopher Morel, question mark, bro. Jansen, would you put your hand on the fire? Like DeLuca, I don't know what he's going to do. DeLuca going to do. So the bottom half of that lineup is incredibly weak, and I feel like they are just really hoping that these guys are just going to come back and regress to the norm. But I would like to say this. I'll obviously have hope for Taylor Walls in 2025, as in, like, I hope he can bring some sort of positivity with his play to the team. But we do have to be honest with ourselves that 1,200 plate appearances is not a drop in the bucket. Like, that is a sample size now. Like, you have like 1,200 plate appearances. Like, you know who you are. Like, and people should know who you are as a hitter. We know who Taylor Walls is, and maybe that's the Rays kind of telling the fan bases, we're not just gonna like submit and just say, yes, we have an argument here to make that we can save ourselves almost $300K, and we have reason to do so.
Yeah, and if you're Taylor Walls, I would utilize this as a motivating factor of, okay, the Rays don't think I'm worth this. I'm going to go out and prove them wrong for them or the next taker of my services. You just hope that it doesn't yield a contentious relationship. And I don't think Taylor Walls is this type of guy, but I would think that after some of those arbitration hearings where not the kindest things are said about you, I don't know, that, you know, you kind of have sour grapes and you become a little bit of a malcontent, and it can somewhat disrupt the clubhouse. And you might have other players that rally around you and say, oh my gosh, the Rays, seriously? They wouldn't foot the bill for an extra $275K for this dude? What?
For this dude that does this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Like,
he does everything except for hit.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of guys that can only hit but don't do anything else. I mean,
but that's what they're probably saying. Like, a lot of guys can't hit here, but at least he can catch the damn ball. I would like to say this because you know, we do like to show everything. Taylor Walls came back after an hour after that little tweet, and he did say, respectfully, was a bit frustrated an hour ago, but make no mistake, the Rays have been home for me my entire career. Great culture, incredible staff, and incredible fans. Regardless of the outcome, both sides are full of great people with good hearts. At the end of the day, business is business. Honesty is always preferred, so thank you for your opinions. But you cannot cross a bridge that's been broken, so tread lightly. I'm off this joint before we argue like 5-year-olds on a long car ride. So, Taylor, good for you. For those tweets, and honestly, I kind of dig it. I kind of dig the little.
Hey, we like to see the personality a little bit, and hey, clap back at Topkin. I'm all for it.
Why
because
not?
He didn't bring up the defensive stats. So,
and who is he? Is he a batter first or a glove first? He's a glove man first. So it would be nice to also add that. So Taylor had his points, but you know, I think it's pretty cool that he showed his heat and then also came back and said, hey,
he
guys,
came back and acknowledged things. Yeah, no, that was very professional of him. Future Atlanta Brave, Taylor Walls there. Okay. Again, that might not be a bad landing spot from Georgia. I think Atlanta pretty offensively. They could, defense inside. Again, I know we've talked about this before, but I think the big thing that maybe held Walls back was giving up one side of the switch hitting scenario. Ditch it, do what Shane Victorino did, do what Cedric Mullins did. You're trying to be too many different things, and you got to cut down on that to some extent. And I know it's maybe beneath you, but and I know some parts of baseball don't like it, but if you have a spot to lay down a bunt and get to first, especially if you're at the left side, give it a shot. I feel like he's a decent enough base runner and skilled enough to at least drop the ball down where the defensive players are not, unless they're just playing in on Taylor Walls all the time. I don't know, but
players I don't want to see bunt: Yandy, Josh Lowe, Junior Caminero, and Brendan Lau. Those 4 guys, I don't want to see them bunt. Probably not Morel, probably not Jansen. Taylor Walls, bunt your way on. I don't care. Like, because we know who you are with the bat when you're swinging, but guess what? We know those wheels. Use the wheels. And you know what? It's not cheap. Maybe people are like, oh, that's a cheap way. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Whatever you have to do.
Able to do that, that's a man on base. How can we clap for guys that walk and be like, oh, he gets on base? Get on base with an infield hit. Get on base with a bunt. I don't care. The other thing is not working for 4 seasons. So maybe try something different.
Bring it back to college softball.
Why not?
All right. On that note, hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.